turn, sir?
I'm just having a look around.
Well, make it a quick one.
Who are you?
My name is Felix Greer, maitre d', bartender, and acting manager of the Captain's Club, when Mr. Perkins has his night off. And who, pray tell, are you?
Murphy McAllen. I'm looking for the lost treasure of Belmore Manor.
Oh, goody, another young adventurer seeking fame, fortune, or some combination of the two. Just what Dead Nettle's been lacking for local color.
What is this place?
This, sir, is the Captain's Club, a private members club for current and retired sea and riverboat captains. We are highly exclusive. Are you a captain?
He asked with a smugness that told me he already knew the answer.
I thought not. Then may I recommend a swift exit? You'll find a convenient egress approximately 180 degrees to starboard. If you like, I can give you a good swift kick in the right direction, sir. And don't feel a need to stop walking until your ankles get soggy.
What can you tell me about Dead Nettle?
Do you think you've wandered into the local library? Should we gather around for story time?
I was just hoping to talk to someone obviously so knowledgeable about the area.
Well, yes, unfortunately I'm plagued with an encyclopedic knowledge of the local area. My concierge duties require it. I have a spiel. Welcome, hardy traveler, to our quaint port town of Dead Nettle. Once this town you see around you was a hub of commerce, a beacon for ships bravely navigating between America, Europe, and the Caribbean. With the unfortunate dissolution of the Belmore Trading Company, our town has settled into a quieter life, perfect for the sailor ready to hang up their cap. We hope that you enjoy your time in our homely town and perhaps explore some of the local sites. With the Captain's Club always here as your home port.
Why was the Belmore Trading Company dissolved?
Well, you're taking me off script, but it really was quite the scandal. The three owners of the company vanished, and there was simply nobody left to run the company.
Wasn't there anyone who tried?
The first officer of the company, Mr. Rackham, looked to step up, but he disappeared too. I do wish the company hadn't collapsed.
I bet lots of people share that wish.
I might have more customers if it hadn't.
What do you know about the lost treasure of Belmore Manor?
Do you think you're living in a storybook? Weathered maps, talking parrots, X marks the spot? Grow up, you silly boy. Captaincy is an accomplished skill which doesn't need belittling by childish tales like lost treasure.
What do you know about the Belmore wedding?
You mean the disappearance of the Belmore wedding? On moonlit nights when the waves crash against the rocks, the captains of this club trade yarns about this very mystery. Did you know Abigail Belmore's fiancé was a sailor who worked on the ships? Some of the old boys here even worked with him. They say he loved her, as true as a captain loves the sea. But she was a temptress, a siren who scuttled that sailor's heart.
What did she do?
After months of engagement, she broke it off and chose to marry an officer of the company instead, on their very wedding day.
Who was the man she chose to marry instead?
John Rackham, a landlubber who only used the bounties of the sea to fill his coin purse. But the Belmores harnessed his ambitions for the company, his expertise at imports and exports.
Why did she do it?
What many people don't know is that mysterious things had been found on one of the company voyages to the Caribbean. Mystical things, some say.
What did they find?
The crew was sworn to secrecy by the Belmore brothers, and all of the men were loyal enough to keep their word. But the rot in the rope was that sister, Abigail. People say that the discovery took hold of her. With the broken heart of the sailor and the resources of the officer, she was about to unleash something terrible. Perhaps it was a good thing that they all disappeared.
Do you think that's true?
Of course not. It's all nonsense. But the captains do love to outperform each other with such tales on a dull evening.
What makes you think I'm not a captain?
Well, for one thing, you lack the grizzle, the crustiness, the essential R of a captain.
How do I get those?
Years of exposure to salt water and sullen, uncooperative crew members, I should think. Tell me, have you ever captained a three-rigger through a tropical typhoon? Have you ever run the rapids of the Mississippi without hitting a single reef? Wind in your sails, fire in your furnace, waves beneath your keel?
Have you?
Well, it's more complicated than that.
In what way?
I get seasick.
Is there any way to prove I'm a captain?
You might show me your captain's license. As I'm sure you know, the state of Louisiana requires all captains, both sea and riverboat, to carry one. But don't try to foist me off with a fake. Last week, we had someone present a license with a photograph distinctly unlike their contemporary appearance. The photograph was clearly of someone a good deal older than them, with more facial hair and, most importantly, one less eye.
I best be casting off.
Don't feel the need to rush back, sir. You can't go up there. It's for members only.
I filled the bottle with water from the fountain. It was a soda bottle I'd filled with water. I couldn't do that. That didn't work.
The twine was going to be of more use to me intact.
With a long rip already along the seam, I didn't need to cut the fish open any further. It was the taxidermied fish I'd taken from the riverboat, with a ripped seam opening up to the stuffing inside of it. With the ripped seam as an opening, I placed the horseshoe inside the taxidermied fish. Now it was heavy. I couldn't do that. It was a taxidermied fish, now concealing a heavy iron horseshoe inside it. Gruff mumbles emanated from inside the puppet theater. Obviously, preparation for tonight's show was already underway. The sign read, "The Fantastic Fantaccio Brothers will be performing tonight. People of all ages welcome. Donations welcome even more so." I tried the door. It was locked.
Matt, does that say what I think it does? You've been holding back on me. That breaks my record.
McAllen! You just broke the island fishing record.
How did you hear about this so fast?
It's my job to know about things fast. Now, I'm doing the questions here. So what led to this unbelievable turn of events? Years of practice? Or a one-in-a-million fluke? Did the fish just jump into your lap as you walked the quayside? Was the fish dropped by a passing seagull?
Would have been a pretty darn big seagull.
Just beginner's luck, I guess.
As I suspected, well, as much as it pains me to say it, you're the cover story on this evening's edition of the Juniper Parish Gazette, and this is why I'm not getting a Pulitzer.
I've got to hand it to you, Mac. That fish is a whopper. I wouldn't believe it myself if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes.
I'd had enough of carrying the suspiciously heavy fish around. I decided to leave it there.
Murphy, have you seen the cover of the evening edition? I think we caught your personality perfectly in that photograph. Naive, simple, unsophisticated. Makes it all the more surprising that you actually accomplished something.
I wonder if I should have it framed.
That will cost you.
I picked up the newspaper. The fewer people that saw it, the better. The headline read, "Island Newcomer Breaks Fishing Record," with my photograph printed in black and white. The headline read, Carefully, I cut my photograph out of the newspaper. It was the photograph of myself I'd cut out of the newspaper. I wish I posed better. It was the photograph of... It was the mag... Hello.
Ah, consarn it! Don't sneak up on people like that. You frighten the dying daylights out of me.
He looked at me like he'd seen a ghost. Sorry, you seem a little jumpy?
I thought you were those pesky kids again.
Kids don't seem like a reason to be scared.
They're little terrors. I'm sure they're gonna give me a heart attack. Last week they showed up with a doctor's note they forged, saying a man I'd buried that day was just a very deep sleeper. 7 hours I was out here digging him up, at my age!
And was he sleeping?
Dead as a dodo, just like those kids will be if I get my hands on them.
My name's Murphy McAllen. I've just arrived on the island.
Well, welcome, Mr. Murphy. I'm Edgar Kettle, gravedigger, undertaker, coffin maker, and anything else that needs doing to keep this cemetery running.
I'm looking for the treasure of Belmore Manor.
Another treasure hunter. Well, let me tell you something, young man. Don't even think about digging up my graveyard. There's no treasure buried here, and I'm already busy enough filling in the holes that are meant to be here.
Do you know anything about the disappearance at Belmore Manor?
I think it's important to leave the dead to rest in peace.
But what if they're not in peace?
Well, I think there's more to that story than meets the eye. You know the three brothers went missing, right? Well, if you ask me, I think Abigail Belmore was behind it. She was engaged to a sailor, but nobody like her would go for a commoner.
She might have loved him.
She could have loved somebody with a big bank account, too. I think she must have been using him, pretending to love him so he'd do her dirty work for her, bumping off her brothers. Then afterwards, she drops him and goes to marry the officer of the company. Fiendish.
Those are some pretty serious allegations.
Just a feeling, that's all. I don't have any evidence. But when you work with cadavers, You kinda get a sixth sense about things. People killed in mysterious circumstances. Like you can tell when someone's sneaking up behind you.
You actually seem to have trouble with that.
Wise guy.
What do you think was behind the disappearance?
Well, the sailor must have found out he was being manipulated, mustn't he? Done something to get his revenge.
What do you think the sailor did to get his revenge?
Nobody knows. But in his contracts to the Caribbean, he could have come across something fiendish. All we know is that everyone in that house disappeared. And to tell you the truth, I'm quite relieved they did.
Why's that?
Because if they'd not disappeared, it would be this old fool who'd have had to bury them. Saved me a good amount of work.
Have you got any spare coffin nails?
No, I don't got any to spare. I have to buy these out of my own pocket. Do you know how much the parish gives me per burial nowadays? A pittance. The roof's leaking, my table's broken. I've used floorboards to build some of the coffins. Take my advice. Don't go into this line of work. I'm telling you, undertaking's a dying business.
Have you ever accidentally buried someone who is still alive?
Not that I know of. When you think about it, how would I know?
Shouts for help? Desperate shaking of the coffin?
Look, I haven't sealed anyone up who was chatting away with me, let's put it that way. I usually check for signs of life, but everyone takes shortcuts sometimes, don't they? I deserve some rest in peace, too.
Do you not find working in a graveyard a little eerie?
Why would it be eerie?
I don't know. Ghosts, maybe?
I don't like to think about ghosts.
Why not?
Because they'd be bad for business. I have my work cut out here with the dead as it is. Imagine if they came back asking for a refund.
What are you working on?
This is just a pauper's coffin the parish is funding. Lock 'em in lumber, leave 'em to slumber, that's what I call it. No frills. This'll end up 5 feet under by the end of the night.
I thought it was supposed to be 6 feet.
You're not the one doing the digging. 5 feet means I get a tea break.
Why are you out here working so late?
The funerals take place in the morning, and I prefer to be tucked up in my bed. I don't like those early funerals. I'm not a morning person.
Did the coffin just move?
Don't even joke about that.
I best be running along.
Don't drop dead. I don't want anything else adding to my to-do list.
The tin was empty. I didn't need to do anything with the stove, and would have probably burnt my hands if I tried. The coffin lid had been nailed down securely. I wasn't going to be able to open it. With the jack removed, the table rocked freely. I disturbed Edgar enough. I scanned the headstones for anything of note, but didn't know what I was searching for. I scanned the headstones for any. I scanned the. I couldn't see any way to open it. It was a screw jack, the type I normally see being used to hold up a motor car when changing its tire. That wasn't going to work. That didn't work. That didn't work. I didn't think he'd be interested in that. That didn't work. I couldn't do
The Twilight.
that. Didn't work.
Anything to report?
Nothing yet, but I'm keeping my eyes open. That wasn't going to work. Evelyn seemed busy, and I didn't have anything else to ask her. That didn't work. I did need to cut that.
You've returned. Have you found all the ingredients and placed them in the Gree-Gree?
Not yet, but I'm working on it. I'm going to finish finding the voodoo ingredients.
Hurry back.
With a bit of elbow grease, I pushed up the wooden window frame. Pressed against the inside wall was a dusty desk covered in spider webs, and on top it, one thing lay undisturbed, a small folded document which I picked up, along with an unintentional 8-legged companion. Ugh! Ghost stories and haunted treasures I could handle, but spiders gave me the creeps. I stuck the cutout photograph onto the still tacky interior of the captain's license. It was convincing enough. I didn't have anything else to ask Felix. My credentials.
You're telling me you are a captain?
I trust it's all in order.
Look, Sonny, the bylaws of this club only allow the club manager to verify a captain's license. And Mr. Perkins is enjoying his backgammon evening with Mrs. Perkins and the ladies this evening, with strict instructions not to be disturbed. So I'll be accepting this tonight, but try this again tomorrow night and it'll be another story. Now, with that said, a warm and hearty welcome to the Captain's Club. We sincerely hope you make use of and enjoy our facilities, and do please let me know if I can be of any assistance at all.
While I was trapped on Devil's Rock, a map of the world wasn't going to be much use to me. I considered playing a game, but billiards without the balls and cues wouldn't have been very engaging. It was a small cube of blue billiard chalk. The cabinet was locked. The ceiling fans were off. The ceiling fans were off. It was locked. It was a crumbling rock of chalk. It was a crumbling